Hey, I'm interviewing my Nana, um, and we're going to be talking about the 7 categories of otherness, which is basically, this is actually the second take, but um, the 7 categories of otherness, basically, there's a dominant and subordinate group, and then there's, unearned advantages and unearned disadvantages that people in the dominant and subordinate groups have. So, starting with the first question, um, how have you experienced in your life as in the subordinate group, at least at the time, being
I
a
was the
woman?
dominant group, I think, Jack. Oh, you mean as female?
Yeah.
Okay.
How have you experienced prejudice or discrimination based on that in your life?
I'd say probably never.
Really?
Because in the late '60s, I got out of college, and I was at that beginning of where they offer the same jobs to men and women, and that's where I met my husband. I was a systems engineer. He was a sales trainee. I
Yeah.
do think it was interesting for my husband to adapt to women being sales operatives because you go out to lunch and he was used to that old thing, male, female, what is appropriate, what do you say, and he was used to dealing with men. So I think it was more interesting for him. I worked until I stayed home with the family, and I was glad I did. I had a husband that could afford for me to stay
Yeah.
home. I do think it's very important that nowadays women with so many broken marriages should get
Yeah.
enough education and skills that if they have to support their family, divorce, or somebody dies, that they can do it.
Do you think that there was a stigma associated with you being in the same work field as Pops, or
I do think,
against
but not
women,
that I
or
experienced, because my husband said to me when he was I don't know, sales and marketing manager, a woman that he knew that worked with him came in, and he was the only one that she could address that wasn't a male chauvinist. You know what?
yeah,
Because a lot of the men were not treating her as an equal. And see, if I had been staying in the workforce, I probably would have experienced that. They wanted to proposition her, but they didn't want to treat her as an equal.
yeah,
And she came in, and literally, my husband did not know how, your grandfather didn't know how to say anything. He just let her get it out.
yeah. Um, as a as part of the dominant group in society, at least American society at the time, and still now, being a white person during the 50s and 60s during the civil rights movement, where did you see that you were gained an unearned advantage in your life? Where did you see prejudice, or yeah, in your life when you were growing up, or when
Okay.
you were still in the workforce?
My school wasn't desegregated until I was in 7th grade. I never thought about it. You're a child. And I was always taught to respect, we called them Negroes. That was the polite way. But then it became black and then African American. It's always been changing. And people are entitled to be addressed as they care to. But I remember it stung me because all of a sudden there were African Americans in my classroom, and I sat next to one, and we were talking and just enjoying each other's company. She said to me I was the only white person that you treated her nicely. But that's the way I was raised. I thought at the time African Americans were actually morally superior to us because of slavery, segregation, and what they had to put up with. But and we were. But then it changed in the late '60s with equal opportunity and everything that sometimes white people felt at the short end of the stick, but they had to go maybe overboard to make some sort of balance. I do think poor African Americans in inner cities are now at a disadvantage. I don't think African Americans in affluent societies or even very affluent societies are disadvantaged.
Yeah. Um, Other than your school, did you hear any stories, or did anyone else tell you when you were growing up about advantages? Did you how many did you have any black friends growing up, or?
Well, when I went sent me to a private high school, Catholic.
Yeah.
And my best friend was Bobby Clark, but she was only one of two African Americans in my whole school. So that tells you something about
Yeah.
they weren't as privileged as that's the course. And then my college, there were some, but not that many. And I didn't realize until after college when I had a coworker that told me how what it was like growing up black in the South. And her brother's friend got killed for dating a white girl, and then because she protested, she was put in the back of a van and almost killed with heat. And then I realized how horrific it is, and you feel that white sense of guilt that how come I didn't know? How come I didn't get more involved?
Yeah, it's like a veil, like, social norm that,
Yeah,
you just don't even realize it. Well, yeah,
I don't think it was nearly as severe for women versus men, unless I guess they're really trying to get ahead in the workforce as it was for black and white, because women back in the 50s always lived in nice neighborhoods or, whatever.
Yeah.
And whereas black neighborhoods were they were different, and they weren't as well, and the schools weren't as good. So they suffered a lot more than female versus male. I really do think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you for interviewing. I appreciate it.
Bye, Jack. Love you.
Bye.
Okay, Nana.
Bye.